Hey there, this is the Resistor Vic podcast. I'm here to get folks thinking about politics as something that's really about regular people like you and me, and to realize that together we can make a difference. I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. So this is episode 26. I'm with Leila Staton. I didn't ask her how to say the last name. She's running for the Iowa House, and I did not do a lick of background on Leila. Normally, I at least look candidates up and check, learn as much as I can about them, but I purposely didn't do that this time because I was scrolling through social media and I saw one of her videos and it said, "I'm Leila. I know I look kind of young, but I'm running for the Iowa State House." And that was the moment I knew that I wanted her on my podcast. I didn't bother watching the rest of the video. I messaged her and say, "Hey, you want to be on my podcast?" But before I introduce her, Epstein, will we see the files or will we not? I find that a lot of people believe that we absolutely will, and because the protections put in the bill that they did the discharge petition on, it has a lot of caveats in there that closes the loopholes you would expect Pam Bondi to use. So a lot of people say, we're absolutely going to see it. There's no way they can not show it to us. And then there's another group of people who say, there's no way he's going to show it to us. They're going to come up with some kind of ongoing investigation excuse or something. We'll never see it. Time will tell. We've got less than 30 days. Tennessee special election is underway right now. Tennessee 7, Afton Bain. If you've seen very many of my videos or a couple of podcast episodes ago, I had Afton on. She's a great candidate. This is the last opportunity this year to turn a red seat blue. If you know anybody in Clarksville, Tennessee, or Nashville, Tennessee, or in between, please get a hold of them and let them know that there is a special election. Afton Bain is a great candidate. She beat a field of, I want to say, 3 other Democrats in the primary. I've interviewed her. I've talked with her a lot, and I think she's going to be a great representative, but she's got to overcome a heavy red advantage. And so far, it looks like she just might, because she's closed it to within 4% in the polls. And I think it was the Cook report changed it from a absolutely Republican win to a likely Republican win. So if you know anybody in Tennessee. And finally, is 2026 going to be the year of the woman? 1992 was the original year of the woman, and the Senate went from 2 women to 6. The House went from 28 women to 47. In 2018, we had another year of the woman. We had 25 women in the Senate when it was all done, and 102 women in the House. Now, those numbers are still well below parity, right? It should be 50% in both. Currently, we've got 26 women in the the Senate, and 126 in the House. But the ingredients are there for this to be a monumental year for women running for Congress. And I kind of hope we get there. All right, now let's bring in Leila Staton. Did I say the last name right?
You did.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Leila.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, as I told everybody, I haven't done a lick of background on you. So let's start out with the most obvious question. How old are you?
I am 22 now.
Are you?
I
old
am.
enough to drink, old enough to represent people in office.
Yes.
So what causes a 22-year-old woman from Iowa to say, I'm running for state legislature?
Pure frustration.
Okay.
Pure frustration. Across the board. All right. So after the 2024 election, like a ton of people, I was really upset. And then looking closer to like our state legislature, because I believe that our state government has more control over our lives than the federal government. You have more pull, your money matters more, and they're closer to your ground. They control your daily life. And I realized that no one had contested our representative in my district. No Democrat on the ticket. And I got really frustrated. And I was like, someone needs to run against this man. His votes are terrible for us.
Is he MAGA?
Yes.
I think that works in your favor.
I think it could. He's also a state trooper, which also works in my favor. Many things are working in our favor right now. But I decided, you know what? We need younger representation. Gen Z makes up for about 30% of Iowa's population, and they are only 4% of our House of Representatives due to some special elections that.
So you're frustrated with the legislature. You're frustrated with politics in general.
Yes.
You're a Democrat. Does that frustration extend to the Democratic Party?
It does.
Tell us about that. I'm curious to see if your frustrations with the Democratic Party are the same as mine.
I think the answers are different at each level, but since I'm running for state government, I'll talk about our state Democratic Party because that's closer to me and I have more experience with it. I think our state Democratic Party lacks a lot of organization. Historically, throughout probably the last 2 decades, the amount of money that they have spent on races at the state level has dwindled. Now they are only focusing on putting money into winnable seats, like safe Democratic seats. I don't think that logic is going to help Democrats in the state win. We have such a supermajority in our state house. Why aren't we putting money into races statewide or states
when you say we, the Democrats have a supermajority?
Republicans have a supermajority.
Oh, the Republicans have the supermajority.
Yes. Sorry.
In both the House and the Senate, or?
In the House, but due to a special election, it's no longer considered a supermajority in the Senate.
Nice.
So we'll see that play out in this next legislation.
Tell us about your district.
Ooh, my district consists of 2 and like a third of a county. It's Hardin County, Grundy County, and then the western part of Blackhawk County. It's very rural and it looks very red.
Yeah?
Yep.
What's the biggest city in your?
The biggest city is Iowa Falls, and it still has less than 10,000.
Oh, wow.
Voters in it. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that your frustrations with your state party mirror my frustrations with our national party. It's kind of the same thing. The Democrats have abandoned rural America. And, you know, we wonder why the farmers and the ranchers and all that are voting for the Republicans. And it's because the Republicans show up. They lie through their teeth. They don't help them, but they show up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's the same thing going on in Iowa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. I went on a huge research binge because once I learn about something, I have to know everything about it. But I was like, why have farmers and just rural Iowans specifically started voting Republican? And that's the answer, is that Democrats have put so much emphasis on urban America that Republicans obviously capitalized off of that. And then with religion and overall identity, they started to identify themselves with Republicans.
Tell us about your education.
Ooh, my education. So I've always lived here in Grundy County, minus the year I went to Drake. When I graduated high school from Dyke New Hartford, I went to Drake University. I realized I am not somebody who can afford private education. So I moved back home and then I went to community college. And I got my EMT, my medic, realized I can't handle that level of work, and went back into the legal field. I work as a legal assistant now. I'm getting my paralegal degree right now.
Cool.
That's my education.
So if money was no object, if we supported public colleges like we should and had free tuition and you were able to go to college, what would be your area of study?
Ooh, I don't know. I haven't ever been asked this before. I think something higher up in the lane of law, but I don't want to be an attorney.
No?
No.
And one of my great regrets is that I never went to law school. Anyway, okay, so where can people get in touch with Leila Staton? Staton. Yeah, I'm going to screw that up all night.
It's okay. Everyone does, but it's Leila Staton.
Staton. Okay.
Yep. You can get in touch with me on leilaforiowa.com, and it's LeilaFor, Iowa. And then,
which happens to be scrolling across the bottom of the screen, folks.
Oh, yay! High tech.
And let's go ahead and put this up there. There's her website. You'll notice that there's a donate button right there in the middle. And I can tell you that it works because when I was getting ready to set everything up tonight, I went and tested it and donated $25 to Leila for Iowa.
Thank you so much.
Well, YouTube has been kind to me. My viewers are very supportive, and I want to put my money where my mouth is, and I want young people like you to take over our politics. So there you have it. I hope other people watching and listening will also go to leilaforoiowa.com and help her make a difference.
Yes. And then if you want to keep up with me on social media, I'm Leila for Iowa, spelled the same way, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Awesome. So let's give people a reason to support your candidacy. What are you running on? What do you want to accomplish?
So many things. But the top 4 are public money for public schools. We have a private school voucher program that is actively defunding Iowa's public education. And in the district that I'm running to represent specifically, we only have one private school, and it's a K through 8. So no student is graduating from private school in our district. So we need to support public education because that's where success happens. So that is one of my top priorities. Another top priority of mine is to protect family farms and to hold corporate agribusiness and pesticide companies accountable. We have seen throughout the last few decades, corporate farms are just buying up, profiting off of family farms' small failures, making them feel very large, and then buying their farm. And it's destroying our environment and obviously our family farms and families. It's hurting so many generational farmers.
And it's just getting worse all over the country. I saw just, 2 hours ago, I was perusing the headlines, and the Tyson beef packing plant in Nebraska announced they're going to shut down. So there's 2,700, I think they said, employees there that are going to be out of a job, not to mention where are all the Nebraska ranchers going to take their beef now? Because it was the only one.
Right.
And that's playing out across the country.
Right. When the lack of competition was already terrible, and then they fully consolidate all markets, it's even worse for us.
I sure would like to see Congress remember what happened in the 1920s and with monopolies and stuff, and the rules that we put in place to prevent them, and realize that if we don't get a handle on that again, we're going back to the Great Depression.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know like half of the states are already in a recession. Like Iowa's already in a recession.
Yep.
So
Colorado's going to get there. So there was education and farming or ranching.
Yep.
Did I get it? What's the third one?
The third one is expanding healthcare, making healthcare more accessible and affordable to all of rural Iowa. You should not have to drive over an hour to go to a hospital. So we're increasing funding specifically for OBGYN units. With the Medicaid cuts from that big bogus bill, OBGYN units all over the state are going to start closing more than they already rapidly have been. We have the least amount of OBGYNs per capita in Iowa. And then we have an abortion ban. Where are we expecting these women to go to have babies?
You sound very informed and very energized and very into the political realities of the world, and you're 22 years old. When I was 22 years old and I tried to talk to any of my peers about politics, they'd throw rocks at me. How is it with your peers?
I'd get into a lot of arguments. A lot of arguments.
Because you're blue and they're red?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And then people, I think toward the end, like my senior year of high school, that's when the most arguments happened.
Yeah.
Being completely honest.
Well, I absolutely couldn't get anybody to talk about politics in high school. I was the oldest one in my class, and when I turned 18, I registered to vote on the day that I turned 18. Yeah. And as my friends would turn 18, I'd be like, let's go get you registered to vote. And they were like, shut up. I'm going to go have a beer. When we turned 18, we could drink at 18.
Yeah.
That's how old I am. Anyway, so do you find that your generation is more involved in politics than you expected, or is it still like when my oldest was your age, the 20-somethings had no desire to know anything about politics?
I think there are several answers to this question. I think, one, Gen Z is the biggest voting demographic that we have right now. It's a very diverse generation. I think we are seeing data of Gen Z men skewing more conservative and more Gen Z women skewing left, more liberal. And it's one of the largest kind of gender divides that we can compare to other generations. And I think it depends on what you mean by are they political? I think Gen Z is very politically involved. They're at a lot of rallies. They know a lot. They talk a lot about politics. But recently, like in the 2024 election, for example, Gen Z did not show up to the polls in the way that they were projected to.
Right.
And I think that's for quite a few different reasons. I think a lot of people are, and this goes for all generations, but I think a lot of people are exhausted. They've exhausted themselves having to vote for a dinosaur that has no idea what it's like to be in their career minus politics. Where this
or to try and afford where to live.
Huh?
Or to try and afford a place to live and things like that.
Yep. I think to match the buying power, like the home buying power of the 70s, minimum wage has to be $66.
Yep. I don't think we're going to get there.
I don't think we're going to make the minimum wage $66. I'd love to say, yes, we can absolutely do it. But I think with all of the things that are happening, it's not going to be a fair fight at the moment.
At the moment. Is your party helping you?
No.
Your party's not helping you?
No.
Do you find the media, your local newspapers and stuff, will they take you seriously?
They've put out all press releases that I have sent to them. Luckily, thankfully.
Nice.
I know one that's very close to me is very Republican operated. And as a progressive running, you don't expect them to be very helpful. But they've put out all press releases that I've sent them. And so I'm like, thank you. Because that's one of the biggest. Another thing is a reason I decided to run is that I'm so tired of seeing people in Congress, people in the Senate, and even in state house districts taking so much money from companies and then voting against our best interests because of that money. So I don't take lobbyist money. I don't take any corporate PAC money. I don't take money from Israel or anything like that. It's all grassroots. And I'm not joking when I say that. Because I think if I want people to listen to that part, I think that's a huge thing with so many, all generations. I think that's kind of a pretty based opinion of get the money out of politics, but it's huge with Gen Z. And I think if we want to make any sort of change as to what money people are taking or how much it costs to run for office, is to run for office and be the first one to do it, is to set and lead by example too.
Have you had much luck raising money yet?
I've had
early.
It is relatively early. I think I've been told that I need to raise $200,000. That is not my goal. My goal is like 65,000. I think we can get enough literature and we can get signs and we can make contact with every voter with that amount of money. We don't need more.
Who inspires you?
My mom inspires me a lot. She's a go-getter. But I know that that's kind of like a lukewarm, like everybody says their parents.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Politically, who inspires you?
AOC inspires me quite a bit. How she challenged a Democratic incumbent and took no corporate money. I think that drive is something that all leaders should have. I think FDR also is a pretty inspirational Democrat. Just iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how those of us in rural areas seem to know more about FDR.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like on the left, because it was less emphasis on urban areas and a lot of emphasis in more rural kind of issues.
What do you think about the generation gap between who's in Congress and probably your legislature too, versus people like you who are running for office at 22 years old?
Right. I think,
what's the biggest difference?
well, for one, I know what it's like to struggle to try to find a place to live and afford it. I know a lot of people who are serving in office right now haven't had to go through that process in a long time. And they often have this opinion of, well, it was difficult for me, it's going to be difficult for you, and treating those two like bads as the same when they're not. And I think that's kind of a huge understanding from generation to generation. I think another one is specifically with Democrats I think I've seen this quite a bit since the 2024 election, is placing the blame of the outcome of the election on a specific demographic. Like, oh, it's Gen Z's fault because they don't want to vote for somebody who takes money from Israel, or it's Gen Z's fault because they don't understand the importance of voting. And I think a lot of that stems from a lot of politics in the last 5 years, and maybe longer, but I can only speak for like the last 5 years in personal experience, is that we have always kind of talked about moving forward in a way of going back. And I think that language is something that we probably shouldn't use if we actually want something better. I think we need to focus our language on moving forward, moving for something. And that also coincides with, you need to vote for the Democrats because you have to vote against the Republicans. And I think that's also an issue with our politics, is that voting Democrat is seen as like a preventative measure against Republicans, kind of like a pushback, but not like a push through or like a push for something. And I think that that's something that is an issue.
I've never heard that dynamic described so well. I'm gonna try and remember that, because that is a great way to describe the whole failure to run for something instead of just against the Republicans.
Right.
We're not a preventative measure. That's great. Thanks. Can you see the comments?
I cannot.
If you go up to the right-hand side of the screen, there's a box there for comments. Do you have one?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I do.
Yes. Aww. Look at some of these comments. I look forward to seeing you do big things. Smart lady.
That means so much to me. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So I'm often curious, because I don't get to talk to very many young people running for office, right?
Right.
I feel generational guilt. Even though I've been politically active all of my life, even though I've done everything that I personally can to leave my kids and my grandkids a better future, politically and environmentally and all that stuff, I feel like my generation has let your generation down on an incredible level. And I'm curious, since I have a young, intelligent candidate in front of me, do you guys ever think about that?
I think about it often. And I think about it in two different ways. For one, I think about like the Gen X and the boomers, and even some like elder millennials in a way of they have tried their absolute best and it just hasn't worked out. And with that, I think there's also a piece to that where I just don't think Democrats have fully figured it out. And
when I talk about the generational fault, I'm thinking Republicans, Democrats, everybody in my generation has screwed your generation.
Yeah, I do. That reminds me of a lot of protest signs I saw that were like, I can't believe I'm still protesting this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you own 7 houses and you won't sell to a family. You refuse to sell to a family and you want to sell it to BlackRock.
There you go.
But it's not at the forefront of my mind, and I don't place the blame on a certain generation. I think it's kind of a collective failure of America.
Well, I'll tell you this, my perspective, and I hope that there's a lot of people my age who would agree. If you get into office, when you get into office, because I'm sure you're going to get into office this time or next time or whatever, I expect we'll see Leila Staton in office sooner or later, hopefully very, very much sooner. But when you get in there, when it comes down to a decision of if it ever comes to a decision where you have to pick between something good for your generation or something good for my generation, we kind of owe you. So go ahead and pick your generation.
I understand that sentiment, but I don't think that that's something that will exist. I think what's good for someone is good for everyone.
Yeah, I'm just saying in politics, sometimes you have to choose one or the other.
I appreciate the permission, but I will absolutely weigh the value of this instance if it ever happens.
So let's see, you're not going to have a primary, right?
Nope.
Nope.
This district hasn't been contested by a Democrat in almost a decade. If somebody jumps into this primary, I'm going to ask, where have you been? Because I'm not old enough to run. You're old enough to have run last time. Sit down.
Well, because I've been around long enough to see how this works, I'm going to guess that when you start gaining traction, you're going to find some opportunistic older Democrat who's going to say, oh, maybe I can get that one and try and come in and run against you. Or if you were here in Colorado, if you were running to be my state representative against my piece of garbage, Proud Boy state representative, yeah. Oh. And you were gaining ground and it looked like you were going to be competitive, my state party would send somebody down to find somebody older. Because my state party is very corporate, very, what's the word, consultant-centric.
So I posted a video a couple days ago wondering what people mean when they say establishment Democrat, because I think that terminology is kind of interchanged for a different type of Democrat each time. And I want to know what the general consensus is. And I think that would boil down to them.
To me, an establishment Democrat is a part of that consultant class. You have to support who we tell you to support. You have to support the incumbent no matter what. That, to me, is the establishment because they're looking at what they think is best, and the only thing that they think is what the consultants are telling them to think.
Yeah.
They're not getting out and talking to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when
that's
they do,
all
they don't listen.
No, I don't think I'm an establishment Democrat.
So does your district have enough pockets of population that you can do door-to-door to get votes?
In some areas, yes. Like Iowa Falls, I don't want to call it urban, but other people in this district would probably refer to it as urban. You can absolutely go into the town and knock door to door, but there's so much value in the rural voters that I will absolutely be driving to all of their houses to knock on their door.
I see a lot of organizations out there like Run for Something. Have you hooked up with them?
I've applied for their endorsement and have taken a few of their trainings, but I haven't heard anything yet. But also, I announced my run really early. Like, I announced last May. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That tells me that you were incredibly serious about this, and you're not just a doing it on a whim kind of person, that you're serious about this.
No. I think most people who know me personally and my family, they're not surprised at all that I'm running for office because I've always been like this. But it is surprising that I'm running so early. And I was 21 when I announced. So I was like, I'm going to announce as soon as I can so I can make as much contact because I know people aren't going to take me seriously.
Yeah.
So I got to push them into it because I'm here and I'm not going.
Well, I'm going to put you on my list of candidates to watch.
I appreciate that.
And, I mean, we're not done yet, but I want to make sure that I remember to say later, we're going to ask you to come back and tell us how it's going.
Of course. I'll always come.
So when I was a little bit older than you and ran for the state house the first time, I was it was me and my car. Mm-hmm. I was doing it all by myself. Do you have anybody helping you out?
I do have a couple of people. My mom is fantastic. She helps with so many things, and she's also an accountant, so she helps me with the money stuff because I have crazy OCD, and I'm so scared of going to jail over money. So
it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, and I think people in politics should probably feel this way. But
if only, right?
Right? Yeah. So she handles a lot of the money stuff. She has such great ideas when it comes to like events and unique ways to reach people. So I'm so grateful for how much work my mom is also putting into this, which means a lot because it also shows me that she really believes in this campaign, which makes me happy. And then I have a couple of people who help me out with text banking and things like that. Nothing too crazy, thankfully. Thankfully, these people believe in the campaign just as much as I do. And so they're helping, I'm so thankful for them. Shout out.
I'll tell you something else that you're going to run into as the election gets closer. Mm-hmm. If you've raised any significant money at all, I mean, right now the party's like, sorry, we're not going to help you, right?
Uh-huh.
But as you get closer and the establishment candidates are needing help, they're going to come to you and say, hey, would you like to buy into the
House Victory Fund?
Yeah, coordinated campaign. That's what they called it when I ran for Congress. You want to buy into the coordinated campaign? Oh. And I'm sorry that I said yes, because I was giving them money. And as an example, I was doing door-to-door in Longmont. And turns out I was about 20 minutes behind the coordinated campaign. And I knocked on this door, and I'm talking to this gal. And she says, wait a minute, you're running against Ken Buck? I said, yeah. She said, but that guy that was here for Mark Udall a minute ago, he said nobody was running in that race. Oh, I was so mad. Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that you can run into. So when the House Victory Fund comes to you near the end and says, hey, you want to give us some of your money so that we can include you in our door knocking? Tell them to kick rocks. You got that far by yourself, you'll get farther without them.
Exactly. Like, I've been warned of similar things where it's like, okay, and then after the primary, the Democratic Party is going to butter up to you as close to the general as they can to try to get you to donate to their campaign after the race. I won't be doing that. County parties is where it's at. They do the work. They are there. They're building what helps candidates like me. So they will be getting supported. But the state party...
when you go to the county parties, they're thrilled to see you, aren't they?
Yes. Well, I am on the central committee for my county. So sometimes they're thrilled to see me. Sometimes they're rolling their eyes. But I love them. It's such a good space to be in. And it's so genuine. And coming up with true plans to actually work for something is up my alley. So I'm always happy to go.
Let's take another second to refresh everybody's memory about your website. Leila Staton. That's a very purple website, by the way.
It is.
That
I
lavender?
love purple.
Okay, then.
I have my literature. It's also purple here. And the thumbs up is iconic. But this is what it looks like. It's purple.
And that is LeilaForIowa.com. And like we said, there's a donation button on there. Tell us about the guy that you're running against.
So my opponent, he hasn't been opposed outside of like a Republican primary. A Democrat hasn't ever run against him. He's a state trooper. He's held one town hall in his entire political career. He was unopposed the first time he ran, so he got the job immediately. And he does a pretty bad job of it. Yeah, he creates. He's on the
older guy?
Yeah, he's older, but he's 45-ish. So not super old.
Wait a minute. Thank you for that, because I'm 58, and if 45 was an older guy, then what's that make me?
No, older than me, but everybody is.
How long has he been in there?
Since 2022.
2022? Okay. Yeah. So he's in there. He's double dipping on his state patrol salary and the legislative salary. Yep. And he's not showing any accomplishments for you?
Not a ton. I think he shows more accomplishments for like corporate agribusiness and companies. Let's just put it that way.
He's a company man.
He is a company man.
There you go.
He co-sponsored a piece of legislation that allows students, parents, staff to have weapons in their vehicle in school parking lots.
You know, when I was your age, that wouldn't have been a big deal.
Right.
But you and I didn't grow up in the same world.
Right.
It seems like in this day and age, even in Iowa, that wouldn't be okay.
No, especially like that came out right after the Pella school shooting, where the principal took bullets for students. And I think that I'm not anti-Second Amendment. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I think everybody should be able to defend themselves from a tyrannical government. But there is a such thing as responsibility. And I think that that's a really irresponsible way to legislate. Especially, and it's a disservice to people who have survived school shootings. Like my first week of college, there was an active shooter threat. Like,
wow.
Really?
I've never had to deal with any of that. My daughter is a high school English teacher, and I hope I never have to deal with that kind of thing from that perspective. But I can't imagine what your generation is going through with that. And
yeah,
another way that my generation let you down.
I wouldn't say that. I think
I would, and I will, and I frequently do. Anyway, is he? I think I asked you earlier, but I don't remember. Is he MAGA?
He's not loudly MAGA, but his votes are MAGA. The legislation he puts forth is MAGA. He's just, I think, an easy way to describe him is just like silent. He's silent online. He doesn't hold many public events, so you can hear from him. In the one public event he had, he was asked a couple questions about the AEA problem that was stemming from the private school voucher program. He had no idea what he was talking about, and then he didn't have another one.
And how is Leila Staton going to be different?
I research what I don't know already, and I care to listen to what people need and care about, and I genuinely want to help people. I think that the function of government is to help the people who live within it, everybody. So I think so far his political career has been very partisan, which you can get away with as a Republican in Iowa right now because of the majority. But I don't plan to, when elected, we manifest over here, when elected, I know that I'm not just a representative for Democrats who vote for me because I ran as a Democrat. I know that a representative is supposed to be a representative for everyone in that district. And I think that that's kind of something that we've also seen all across the nation. I think that's kind of a bad thing in our politics.
Yeah, there seems to be a lacking in that very idea at so many levels. And I'm not going to sit here and try and say it's just the Republicans.
Right, no.
They are capitalizing on the whole screw you if you're a Democrat idea, then and they seem to think it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Well, wait, before I get there, let me see if there's any good questions here in the comments. If anybody has a question for Leila, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we'll see if we can get something besides my ugly mug up here with the questions.
I did see a question earlier up.
Did you?
Or a question, but a comment about affordable housing. And I have affordable housing policy on my website. Like capping rent increases and investing in affordable housing developments, all sorts of things. So I am a supporter of affordable housing.
Joni Ernst is your...
Mm-hmm.
She's a senator. She's running for governor? Or she's your governor and she's running for something else? I get mixed up.
No, Joni Ernst has resigned.
She's resigned.
Not resigned. She's not running for re-election.
Right. Is that because she's running for governor?
I have not heard that she's running for governor, but I would not put it past her.
Okay.
Ashley Hinson is my congresswoman, and she's running for Senate now. Yeah, and then Chuck Grassley's my other senator. So I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sitting here saying how old I am. That guy was old when I was born.
He started serving in public office before my grandma was born. And then he filed paperwork to run again, to run for re-election after this term.
Grassley is running again?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Insane. But there's a theory. Do you want to know the theory?
I bet I know what it is.
You probably know what it is.
He's going to run, get reelected, resign so that the governor can appoint his replacement.
His grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not, like, people talk about it as if it's some sort of, like, Kennedy legacy. No, that's a curse. The Grassley are.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., case in point.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of legacy politicians.
The nepotism is crazy.
Hopefully, Adelita Grijalva is going to be a great representative for Arizona.
Yeah.
But I have a problem with the fact that her dad knew that he was on his way out when he ran for re-election.
Yeah.
And he should have resigned before. There were 2 or 3 people on the Democrat side who were on their deathbeds during the last campaign.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you people doing this? And then when I see, like, Nancy Pelosi finally announced she's going to retire, one of the names being bandied about as her replacement is her daughter, Christina. And I'm like, what makes these people think that just because mommy or daddy was in there forever that they have a right to be there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so problematic. Like, I think that also kind of harms democracy in a way.
Oh, I think it's absolutely horrendous for it. Well, let's help Leila out. Did I put your website back up there again yet?
I think so.
Look, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. LeilaForIowa.com. And yes, folks, the donation button on our website does work. Okay, here's the question I ask all of my candidate guests. Well, first, before I ask this question, I'm going to give you the opportunity to have the last word. Anything that I didn't ask you, what do you want people to know about Leila Staton?
I think I'm going to talk about the campaign. So I am running in a super red district. Red district. If you listen to polls, people would never run for office. But I think a huge message of the campaign is that young people not only should be running for office, but should also be voting and taking active part in our democracy. It's the only way to save. I think that's a huge message of my campaign, and is like the meaning behind it is that young people, and young, I use the word young pretty loosely. So if you're under 50, you should actively run for office. You should actively be voting. You should make sure that you are active where decisions are being made, because they're being made about your life. They impact you the most. The people making the laws, it's morbid but true, are not going to live this legislation through. You are. You are. You have to live through it. So please, please take part in our democracy.
Great. Now, I had a sense that this was gonna be the perfect question to ask, and I asked you before we went live. Do you know who Tip O'Neill is?
I don't.
Okay, Tip
I don't
O'Neill
think so.
was the Speaker of the House, in Washington, for a generation. He was an incredibly powerful Democrat out of Chicago. He was the Speaker during the Reagan years. He wrote a book that was very famous. It was called All Politics Are Local, or All Politics is Local. I hate the way it's worded. Anyway, the biggest takeaway from that book, at least in my mind, was he's talking about his last campaign after serving decades in office and having the same people help him year after year after year on his elections. He's celebrating his last campaign victory, and he's standing at the punch bowl with one of his longest term supporters. And he jokingly asked her, "Did you vote for me?" And she looked at him very seriously and said, "No." And he was shocked. And he said, "What do you mean, no? Why not?" And she said, "Because you didn't ask me to." So, my lesson for you is never, ever, ever let pass you a opportunity to ask people for their vote. It matters.
Anybody in Iowa, in my district, please, please, please make sure you register to vote and vote on November 3rd of 2026.
Tell us the counties in Iowa again.
It is Hardin County, Grundy County, and then kind of the western portion of Blackhawk County.
And Iowa Falls is the biggest city?
It is, yes.
Okay. If you know anybody in Iowa that is in or around those areas, give them a call.
Yes,
If you're going to be visiting, if you want to see young people take over as badly as I want to see young people take over, go to Leila, Leila, 4FOR, Iowa.com and hit that donation button for her. We need her generation to take their power.
We do. I agree. And thank you so much for having me on here.
It truly was my pleasure, and I look forward in a few months to getting a hold of you and say, will you come back and give us an update?
Sounds good. I will absolutely come back for an update.
And to everybody who joined us on YouTube, thank you for coming along for the ride. And for everybody who's listening to this after I edit it, thanks for making us a part of your day. Well, folks, looks like we're back at the barn and it's time to call it a day. I sure do appreciate you spending your time with me. If you want to help keep this podcast going by supporting me, you can get a paid subscription on Substack, where I'm Resistor Vic. Or if you're the type that'd rather go to PayPal, I'm also resistorvic@gmail.com. Thanks again.